Hello, my name is Kelsey Eichert, and today we will be discussing postformal thought. This presentation is for Dr. Malewski's EDCI 7520 class. So to begin with today, we're going to be covering four main things: an introduction into postformal thought, which includes the definition and further information; the themes of postformal thought, which revolves around main characteristics and ideas; the article takeaways from the 3 assigned readings for this module, and the overall impact, including real-world examples, classroom examples, and the major implications that postformal thought brings to the world. So this quote was from the Snow article that we discussed this module, and to me it really sums up what postformal thinking is, and it reads, for example, I gradually came to realize that this postformal self-referential thought helped describe what went on in the minds of mature and older adults who were addressing the issue raised by deeply mystical experiences and near-death experiences. And the reason I chose this quote was that it exemplifies the concept that everything that we do and everything that we live through and survive creates the narrative of who we are as people, and that in a sense is what postformal thought is. It's about taking the elements of your life and creating cognitive connections to how you see the world and the way that you view life in general. So let's get on into the introduction. Postformal thought takes cognition and development beyond logic and rigid fact to more willingly embrace the flexible, moral, and intellectual complexities of cognition and development. So it expands the definition of truth by accepting that the truth is a multidimensional and multifaceted concept. It also contains subjectivity and partiality, and because of this, it is also or often seen as incomplete because of the subjectivity and partiality. The opinions and the perspectives that individuals bring make it seem not whole, yet it is still a form of truth. It also allows people to conceive and understand the complexities of truth, which leads to a self-discovery and awareness. Continuing, postformal thought takes thinking a step further than Piaget's theories of developmental psychology. Postformal thought is derived of 4 features: etymology, which is a culture's view of valid knowledge, or the derived information behind what a culture deems as worth knowing and learning. It also is developed through patterns or connections between thoughts and relationships, and these repeated connections that naturally occur within intimate and platonic relationships is how we formulate thought into reality. These processes shape how we view the world. And speaking of processes, it's a new way of reading the external world. It's how we develop the way that we read the world by how we have experienced it. So it's more than just seeing the world for what it is. It's seeing the world for what it is and what it does to us and how that shapes who we are, which also leads to contextualization and the belief that learning never ends. Because we are continuing to improve and pursue knowledge and learning, our thinking and cognition should also continue to improve, which is why the study of the adult brain is so important. Next, we'll move into themes. So some of the themes of postformal thought are constructed of main ideas and catalysts to generate modes of postformal thinking, and these include, but are not limited to, the fact that answers are multifaceted, which simply means that there can be more than one right answer. Things are not black and white anymore. They're multidimensional. It also incorporates epistemology, which distinguishes justified beliefs from opinions. So it's more than just, I have an opinion. It is a justified belief or something that, by how you live, it guides the way that you think and believe. It also consists of self-reflection, which emphasizes, looking into who you are as a person and why you are the way that you are. It transcends advanced thinking and thought and pushes the boundaries and limits of sophisticated cognition. So it's more than just I can think deeply. It is why I'm thinking deeply and about what am I thinking deeply. And it also rewrites the traditions of thinking by removing the traditional methods of childlike thinking and cognitive theories while studying adult cognition. And I love this image, which was taken from the cover of Sino's research novel. And to me, this encompasses postformal thought because here you have two hands that are constructing the image of another hand, which is essentially what postformal thought is. It is about taking what we already know and continuing to develop and draw upon it to make it something more beautiful and more deep and more meaningful. In addition, some more themes and topics include expanding awareness, and that is in the cultural sense, societal sense, and the awareness of self. Building on new experiences, which can be emotional and personal experiences. Creating new ways to view problems. We are encouraged to be problem finders and detectors, not just problem solvers. In other words, anticipating problems instead of just reacting to them. And finally, metacognition development is also an important theme, which exemplifies awareness and understanding of personal thought processes. So, taking a deeper look into why we think the way that we do and understanding the reasons we think this way. Some key article takeaways. The three articles that we read, the Scott and Janda and Caracock article breaks down three concepts of postformal thinking into relativistic, dialectic, and metasystematic thinking and draws on the commonalities among concepts and constructs. The Sino article explains that cognition orders and generates conscious adult developmental experiences, and postformal thinking influences intimate relationships. And finally, the Kinchelow and Steinberg article draws connections between asking hard questions, embracing uncomfortable realities, and changing socially acceptable narratives. So, some key takeaways in the Scott Janda and Caracock article. The first quote that I chose was postformal thinking may have advantages over formal thinking in many ways, including improved ability to analyze and solve complex problems, more potential for creativity, and a greater appreciation and understanding of values such as ethics, affect, and empathy. And to me, this statement is significant because it explains the overall concept of postformal thinking. As individuals move into adulthood, one dimensional thinking is no longer enough, and this bridges the gap between formal and postformal thinking and allows adults to experience a deeper connection and understanding. The second quote that I chose, it really exemplifies the way that the goal of teaching is, and school in general, is to create productive members of society that can contribute to the betterment of it. However, it's becoming increasingly more apparent that solving equations and answering word problems is not all that students need to be productive members of society, which justifies the concept that they believe that the post-secondary level of teaching does not really equip students for adult life. And the final quote that I chose reads, moreover, as difficult as it is to become a postformal thinker, it is as equally difficult to develop as one. And this is the idea that is relevant in many aspects of life. Accomplishing the goal is not the end of the road. It is instead the catalyst for new growth and new goals. So becoming a postformal thinker is not the end of the line because there is more life to live. And as long as we are still breathing, we are still learning. So some key takeaways from the Sino article. The first quote, to choose to dance is simply to pick a form and simply do it. The walk within the dance does not get anywhere. And I really like this quote because it questions the concept of positive movement and productivity. Many people choose to believe that if you are not moving forward, then you shouldn't be moving at all. But as with dancing, the movement takes you where the movement takes you is not as important as learning the move itself. And the same can be said for postformal thinking. The goal is not the mastery of the concept, but instead the continuous practicing of the concept. The second quote for the Sino article, to me, really describes the way that adults with postformal cognitive mastery have a greater ability to easily move from situation to situation without great stress or difficulty. This ability to adapt to your surroundings and code switch in different situations stems from a cognitive development to read environments and adjust to fill the many roles that people can play within the realities of their everyday lives. And finally, the final quote from the Sino article, this tactic is easier for that post-formal person to tolerate, because the post-formal individual sees the bigger picture and does not have to take the power struggle quite as seriously as other members of the intimate group. But predictable conflicts will still occur and growth may still be stalled. And here, Sano reminds readers that while post-formal thought can aid in conflict resolution, it does not prevent the resurgence of the conflict altogether. So the traditional, while sometimes minuscule and other times major problems, will still potentially be there, but individuals involved in the conflict will be more equipped to solve them. And that is ultimately the goal of adulthood, to be well equipped to solve problems and adapt to and grow from conflict resolution. So post-formal thinking isn't the answer to all of your problems, but it can definitely help you in the solving of your problems, which is really all we want. And finally, the third article. First quote, cognitive development then is not a static, innate dimension of human beings. It is always interactive with the environment, always in the process of being reshaped and reformed. And I really like this quote because just as the human body does not stop evolving and changing after reaching adulthood, thoughts and thinking should not either. Also, just as the changes and evolutions of a human body are not solely reliant on one external factor, thoughts and thinking are not as well. A healthy body is formed through consistent work balancing movement and nutrition, and a healthy mind is formed through the consistent work of balancing emotions, experiences, cognition challenges, and working to reshape and reform the environments in which it is living. The second quote, to me, adulthood often seems to revolve around expecting issues to arise so that you are ready when they finally present themselves, and this parallels the concept of problem detecting. However, traditional schooling focuses less on detecting and sensing potential problems and more on simply attempting to solve problems as they are handed to you. And this is a pretty unrealistic approach, and it fails to prepare students for real world problems. Therefore, they often fail to generate real world solutions. However, post-formal thought teaches anticipation instead of reaction. And finally, post-formal teachers fight such tendencies by drawing on student autobiography, theater, and literature to connect public knowledge to our private lives and the formation of subjectivities, which is significant because, yes, teachers are under tight scrutiny, but I find that by allowing my students to see me as a real person and not just a teacher, it allows them to let their guard down and be real people as well and not just students, which is really what post-formal thinking is about. So now let's talk about the overall impact of post-formal thinking. The overall impact in the classroom, it's relevant. It uses personal experience, culture, and current relevance and interdisciplinary thought. It's resilient by encouraging students to ask the hard questions and not fear the tough answers. It teaches students to be open-minded and welcoming of different opinions, open dialogue, and communication. It's thought-provoking because it teaches that everything has value: victory, failure, your classmates, your teachers, etc. And it also expresses diversity in methods, answers, and thought. In the world, it brings a new approach to problems by teaching to detect them, not just solve them. It also assists in rewriting norms and redefining what is socially acceptable. It builds upon the experience of all and not just the majority, so it's multicultural. It does not fear failure, therefore it's experimental and preaches that risks should be more willingly taken. And it's also flexible, and it helps with solving solutions and thoughts and living in general, and as not rigid elements, but flexible. And therefore, because of that flexibility, they're not as easily disrupted. So to me, the images that come to mind when I think of formal thought versus post-formal thought is I just think of chocolate chip cookies, and here's why. So formal thought to me is just your everyday, get them from the bakery chocolate chip cookie. Yes, it's tasty. It gets the job done if you want a little sweet snack, but it's just missing something. And that's where post-formal thinking comes in. To me, post-formal thought is like cooking chocolate chip cookies with your grandmother. There's something extra special about the emotion and the connection that's involved with the cooking because you're doing it with someone who loves you, who has put time and thought into the recipe, and is choosing to spend time with you teaching you this. So it's more than just the recipe itself. It's the experience that comes with the cooking of the recipe. And that's, to me, what post-formal thinking is. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Have a good day.